Hey you guys, and welcome to the Freight House. What do we got for you today? Bourbon ball fudge. What do you need during a pandemic? Chocolate and whiskey. That's it. I don't know. Bourbon ball fudge.
Bourbon ball fudge. Take one.
Does that hurt? Okay. All right, so we are starting with a double boiler. What you want is you don't want the water to actually touch the bottom of the pan. So there's just, I don't know, half an inch of water in here. It's not gonna take very long to melt this chocolate, but that's the key. Another really important thing to start off with and to let you know is that chocolate will seize. So if you take this chocolate and put it in a wet bowl, you're done for. It's gonna seize up and break. If you take this and throw it in a mixer that has water in it or, you know, residual liquids, you're gonna seize. So just be careful when you're working with chocolate. I have this very vivid memory of my mother, like, you know, she bought like the chocolate chips and you melted them and we were like dipping fruit in there and we started dipping kiwi and things like and we washed all the strawberries and we were dipping them in there and it started breaking and we couldn't figure out how to get it to go back together. So we added more butter. Well, that was even worse. Then we added water. Well, that was even worse. So just know that this is fat and it doesn't love to be mixed with water. So you have to be gentle. 20 ounces of dark chocolate. This is like pretty good. This is about 78%. I like a dark chocolate. So that goes in. The heat goes on. I'm always a little disappointed when I go somewhere and you have like these little squares of fudge. And then I notice what I do is I end up eating like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just can't stop eating. So I love making fudge like in a pie pan and then cutting it into like a little tiny slivers, like a slice of pie. I just think it's really nice. I just like to eat it that way. You can hold on to the bottom and start at the very end skinny part of it. It's just something very ritualistic about eating fudge. So I just take a little bit of the butter that I'm gonna need for later on in the recipe and I'm gonna rub that around. 20 ounces of chocolate. And you can see that it's just kind of starting to melt right around the edges, you know? Be gentle with it. If you start to have a lot of steam coming up over the sides, just turn it down because remember, we don't wanna get any water in there. So you can see I've started to kind of got this steam coming out, which means it's really boiling underneath there. I'm just gonna turn it down because I don't wanna risk like the water coming up and condensating and getting in there. And the other kind of thing I love about melting chocolate is I feel like it's this like chain reaction. Like as more and more of it melts, like you can just see like the little pieces start to melt away to become nothing. Like it starts out, everything's all thick and then it starts to just really, you know, it's just like melting butter for a sauce. Something really, I don't know, I really like it. As you can see that it's kind of losing all those big chunks. And we don't need to cook the chocolate, we just need to melt the chocolate. Oh yeah. So see, we didn't actually cook it, we just did it until there's no more chunks in here. Everything is really nice and smooth and melty. I've got 2 ounces of butter, room temperature so that it melts easy. It should definitely be like squishable. 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. Make sure it's a sweetened condensed. Almost all the cans are 14 ounces, so 14 ounces. And then I like to add just like a tablespoon of a heavy cream. And I think because a lot of recipes I've always seen have called for milk chocolate and dark chocolate, I like the flavor of dark chocolate, but milk chocolate has more fat in it. And so I just want to add just a little bit more fat. And I like what the cream does for it. When you add this in, this is going to get super thick. So let's start with our sweetened condensed milk. Oh. You know, one thing I love to do with sweetened condensed milk is like put it in the crock pot and cook it overnight, or throw it in a pan and cook it overnight. Like when we braise pork shakes, sometimes we'll put like cans of sweetened condensed milk in pots in the oven and cook them, and it makes the best caramel. So yummy. I'm gonna add our butter. And then just a little, maybe like a tablespoon, just a little shot of heavy cream. Make sure you get those sides. Now you don't want to let it cool off too much, or what it's going to end up doing is seizing on you. And when it seizes, it gets too cool, and so it starts to, I don't know, somebody who's like a pastry chef or a scientist, weigh in on this. I just know it can't cool off too much or it'll seize. So now we just need to stir this and incorporate all of this fat into here. So just keep working it. It's gonna get super thick. I just have the heat on very light underneath. And every time I make this fudge, I'm a little worried because at first I'm like, oh my goodness, it's separating. Like you can see how it just kind of falls off. Like it's not sticking to the spatula. It's just pretty much falling off of it, which means that it's separating or breaking. So the fat and the protein and the water, it's no longer like a good solid bond. It's all kind of starting to separate or break. This can happen like with aiolis. This can happen with pie fillings. This can happen with anything. So yes, you see how it's not even sticking to the bowl? That's because there's like this layer of fat that's working its way out. And we're gonna continue. See, there's one little piece of butter still left in there. We really need to get all of that butter melted in. So we're gonna bring it over here to the mixer and we're gonna whip some liquid into it, specifically bourbon. So we're gonna take this off. It's nice and worked in there. And you can see how it just rolls right off of here. Just close this up. Half a teaspoon of vanilla. Let's go ahead and, this thing just jumps out every time. Half a teaspoon of our whiskey extract and half a cup of bourbon. So now we're just gonna slowly add this whiskey in. Super emulsified. So you can see when I open this up, just the difference in the consistency. Like earlier, it was just falling off the spatula. Now it's sticking to here. So you can tell that we have gone from this broken mess to this emulsified goodness. It's taking like every bit of willpower I have not to lick the paddle. So now I've got my pie pan. It's been greased up. Let's take this. Let's use our finger because it's just me and I'm here and this isn't getting served to anybody. I'm not gonna eat a whole pie pan of fudge though. Oh my God, could you imagine? I don't even know if I could. All right. It has like super strong bourbon flavor and it's not overly sweet, which is something I like in fudge. Like I don't want it to be just like super crazy sweet. So I'm gonna scoop this out into our pie pan. You know, my father is like a huge peanut butter fudge fan, so is my Uncle Chuck. And one time my Uncle Chuck came to visit. This was pretty recent. He came to visit and he like ate all my dad's peanut butter fudge that my dad had frozen in the freezer and didn't say anything. And after he left, my dad went to get a piece of fudge and he was like, oh, wait, my fudge. I just, you know, good memories of old men fighting of fudge. Next, we're gonna do some pecans. These are Kite's pecans, local pecans. I just like to, you know, it's kind of like old school, but so pretty. So you guys can speed this up if you want. Perfect. And then the best part, smoked sea salt. So this is pecan smoked sea salt. I like to put that all over the top. Listen, I like my fudge to have that like salty flavor. So if you don't like it, it's cool, whatever, you know. But I think it's better. Salty loves sweet. So that's it. This is gonna go in the fridge for at least 2 hours. You'll be able to touch it and see if it's firm. I'll be right back. We'll cut it and show you guys how to eat it if you need to be shown how to eat fudge. All right. All right, so this has been in the fridge about 2 hours or so. really easy way to get this out. So we buttered the bottom underneath. Just gonna take a blowtorch and very quickly go around this. Voila. Let's flip this guy over. Look at that. It's perfect. And you can see that there's a little bit, like where we whipped it, it definitely is a lot smoother, but there's almost even a little bit of air. So it's not like this super condensed, compressed fudge, like where people pack it in the pan. We didn't do any of that. We didn't push the air out. We wanted it to stay like that. I mean, if I were getting super serious, I'd take a little more of that smoked salt and season my fudge. That's it. That with a good glass of bourbon. Easy recipe, not hard to make, can be made days ahead of time before your party or before your friends come over. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Fudge you later. I feel like a good piece of fudge should like bend, you know what I mean? Sometimes you get fudge and it's like super like thick and hard and it doesn't have like any maneuverability. This kind of goes in your mouth and just like melts in your mouth. Holy fudge.